Welcome to my world, the world of a medical laboratory scientist. Health is wealth, knowledge is power. Cancer biomarkers update. Yes, when we are talking of biomarkers, we are talking of those efforts that we can put in place for early detection of things that could turn to cancer. There are so many biomarkers that detect cancers, tumors before they even transform or they are triggered on to become cancerous. Usually those days we just take up the biopsy of any tumor or mole and then perform certain histological tests to know whether there is a chance that these tumor or moles are benign or they have started showing cancerous malignancy. So, but these days we have biomarkers, those genetic presentation. It could also be protein, it could be molecule, any kind of molecules that could be involved, confirm that this sign of cancer in the future can happen. That is why you have, for example, in breast cancer, there is BRCA1 and 2 that you really do to confirm whether the person has the tendency to become a cancer patient, the breast cancer patient, become carrying the malignant cancer gene. There are other things like the PSA2 that when you look at it, you can predict that most likely if care is not taken, this person could also become a prostate cancer patient. We also have the papilloma virus for youths, for children that could develop cervical cancer in future. There are so many unlimited genetic tests, biomarkers and protein biomarkers that are now available. But one thing we must know is that you have all these biomarkers is also very necessary that you maintain a very good lifestyle because of the epigenetic involvement, the methylation of these genes that may now transform to become cancerous. You can understand that when you look at something that is benign and after a while becomes cancerous, malignant. This is because the epigenetics, the lifestyle, there is that methylation that will happen at a certain period when it is opportune for it to become cancerous and it transforms to become malignant, and that is when the cancer stages are now being measured. The role of the medical laboratory scientists in all this is very glaring because they have to perform the test of these biomarker detections, and that I will explain more because there are so many biomarkers that every organ that has could become cancerous or grow cancer cells have their biomarkers. So I shall expose it in the slide session, and as usual, click like and subscribe for more of this information.
They outline objective introduction, type of tumor biomarkers, laboratory diagnosis, and conclusion. The objective to expose and update on the various types of tumor biomarkers that are useful aids in the early detection of cancer when it can be prevented or slowed down from transforming to full-stage metastatic cancer. The introduction. Cancer remains a leading cause of illness and death worldwide. Though trends and statistics vary by regions, resources, and prevention programs, at least we can understand that in the developing countries, these underdeveloped worlds, they have a more serious situation. But at times, it's the reverse. but let's take a general worldwide view. And worldwide, there are estimated 20 million new cancer cases annually. Approximately 1 in 5 people will develop cancer in their lifetime. Cancer accounts for nearly 10 million deaths globally annually. The most common cause of cancer-related death are lung, colorectal cancer, liver cancer, and breast cancer. Approximately 1 in 9 men and 1 in 12 women will die from the disease. In the past, mainly invasive methods of endoscopy and biopsy only were done, and it may have started metastasizing by then. So prevention was almost impossible, because by the time you pick out the sample, the biopsy, to test and confirm whether it is still benign, a little area that even is not examined could be that the cancer has started destroying from that point. And so, unlike now that there are biomarkers for cancer early detection, one can easily take samples and confirm that this person carries a mutated gene that could in future cause cancer. Biomarker type, the type of biomarkers is listed. You have the genetic biomarkers, that is from the gene. Mutation is specific genes that may indicate cancer risk or treatment response. That is very common with BRCA1 and other like that. Protein biomarkers, level of certain proteins that can indicate the presence or progression of cancer. And then you have circulating biomarkers, the circulating tumor DNA or circulating tumor cells. Furthermore, these show clearly what constitutes the biomarkers. You could have the DNA mutations, the lipid, the metabolites, the proteins, the long non-coding, the microRNA and RNA, all can be the biomarkers. Once they are detected, you can then say this person is harboring that the defective gene or protein or that is indicative of future cancer. Yeah, this photo shows clearly that every cell, every organ of the body, blood, lungs, breast, just name it, can have the cancer growing there. And these indicators are there too, the biomarkers. So, but some are not specific because you can find them in almost every part, like the embryonic antigen. They are present in the fetus and the children, but as time goes on, it disappears from circulation. But when there is cancer or there is a mutation back, then this CEA and AFP comes out in the blood when you test it, and that is indicative of the cancer cells mutation happening. So it's another way of knowing that any part of the body can have cancer. Yeah, laboratory diagnosis. The common test we do is immunoassay, and tumor biomarkers exist in tumor tissues or body fluids such as blood, urine, stools, and saliva. These are all, even these days, some are thinking of the tears that comes out from the eye. They all produce by the tumor or the body's response to the tumor. The sample collected could be any of those earlier mentioned, and it could be used not only for detection but also for monitoring for tumor risk indications and tumor classification, so that patients can receive the most appropriate treatment and doctors can monitor the progress, regression, and recurrence of the tumors. Immunoassay tests were commonly used in the past, but multiple technologies have been developed for the detection of tumor biomarkers. Molecular hybridization technology, gene amplification detection technology, immunohistochemistry brings about the original distribution of biomarkers. in fixed tissues. These are more like talking about gold standard, liquid biopsy, yes, and different microscopy technologies as well as single cell sequencing analysis. Finally, conclusion. Cancer mortality rate as earlier exposed is alarming, even with great improvement in public health. So it is not something that anybody should play with. If we are ready to take risk in order to enjoy life, we must be ready also to do some tests, practical tests for these biomarkers, so that early detection will help us to know what next or the choices we have. This must be attributed to the cost of doing many of these tests. That's why you have people probably not attempting to do the needful and still increasing the mortality rate that are not specific. The tests are not specific but are to be combined with other tests for assurance double sure. You have a situation where some, like I have exposed, some of these embryonic antigen tests that will show in the blood are not so specific for a particular type of cancer. So you may not be able to pinpoint that this is for the breast cancer or for other form of cancer, but at least it's indicative that if you combine other tests with it, you'll be sure that the what you are discovering is probably the lung cancer biomarker. So the necessary thing can be done in that area. One thing certain is that lifestyle changes are demanded of those who harbor these biomarkers in order to prevent early onset, or like Angelina Jolie, who underwent a preventative double mastectomy in 2013 to drastically reduce her risk of developing breast cancer after discovering she carried the BRCA1 gene mutation, which gave her an 87% chance of developing breast cancer. So she made a choice to remove radical removal of a breast. The choice of what to do is yours after detection of these cancer biomarkers. So you either want to experience the future pains of cancer, or you want to prevent it very early in life. The choices is that with your performing these tests, biomarker tests, you'll be free. But there are so many videos you can watch in my channel, and they are all concerns with health matters.